Marley Bird YouTube channel, brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. I'm Marley Bird, and I'm joined today by my mom. Marley's mom.
Marley's mom.
We have been doing some wonderful videos to teach you how to knit as I teach my mom how to knit. And so today she's here just to kind of co-host this video, and I'm going to show her how to make this wonderful big stitch throw, because since she's learned to knit, she has asked me repeatedly to make her one of those really big throw blankets that she's seen on Pinterest. She's seen at Pottery Barn.
Everybody's got one.
Right?
Everybody's got one.
Yeah. And I keep telling her, I'm like, you don't want one of those. That's like unspun roving wool. It's going to pill out. It's going to be ugly.
That looks so good.
But here's what's cool, Mom.
Yeah.
Red Heart has a brand new yarn.
I know, I just saw that.
It's called Boutique Irresistible.
I really like
It's
that.
fantastic. It's big, roving type, slightly spun yarn. It's 90% acrylic, 10% wool.
Beautiful color.
It's awesome. It comes in many different colors.
Yeah.
And they have a pattern for a really great throw. And I was like, you know what? This will be perfect to show you.
These are my people.
These are your people.
These
I
are
know.
my people.
This yarn is great. Not only is it soft, it's very, very, very warm. And you can use the brand new Susan Bates size US 50 knitting needles to make this. They come in both straights and circulars, which is convenient because the circulars, as you're making the throw like this, you only have 30 stitches for it, but you're able to spread it out a little bit and give yourself a little bit more room. This is a free pattern over at redheart.com. You can find a link to it right down there in the video notes. While you're down there, smash that like button, as my kids say, because you're gonna love this video. Just do it right now. Do yourself a favor. You don't have to worry about it later. And let's get started. For this throw, you will need your free pattern, which is available at Red Heart. It's called the Wonderful Big Stitch Throw. A pair of US size 50 knitting needles. That's 25 millimeter for those of you who are outside of the US. And you will need 8 balls of the brand new Boutique Irresistible yarn. And you can use this in any colorway you wish. Today, we are going to use this lovely taupe color because I love it and I really want a blanket on my bed, so I'm gonna get started on my own blanket.
I'm not using mine.
You're gonna use yours.
Oh,
I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to get upset.
So, Mom, what is this called? Oh my gosh,
I know. She loves tiramisu, and I just read that, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's
This
gonna
is
love
so
this.
This is called tiramisu.
Yep.
So Mom's using the color called tiramisu. Oh, I should totally use this color.
No,
It's awesome. So this is going to be my mom's blanket. So we're going to get started. You ready? Grab your pattern, grab your materials, and let's jump in. All right.
Are these needles hard to find in this size?
Not really, no.
So they'll be okay to
Yeah,
find them?
yeah, they should be good.
So I'm having those, or I'm having those?
You're going to do those. Do you want to do it along with me, or do you want to do
gonna do it
yours?
with you.
Okay, let's do this. All right, let's do it
And
together.
you called this a ball as opposed to a skein.
A skein, a ball, either one will work. All right, so hold on before you jump in. Let's do this on camera together.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and grab it. You ready?
I'm so pumped.
All right, so obviously we have our pattern, our needles, and our yarn, and we're ready to get started. So, Mom, what I always grab from the center and pull out. You can take the ball band off and pull from the outside, which is what you've done here, and that's totally fine. So you're going to want to take off your ball band. The biggest thing is when you do it that way, your ball might roll around a little bit. But it's okay. So this is good. We'll show them 2 different ways. So I just pulled from the center and pulled out a gum.
Nowhere around.
That's so true. So true. So we are going to do a knitted cast on for this because I think that's just really easy to do with this big thick yarn. Okay. So what we will start off with is a slip knot. If you remember, you put the yarn in the, wow, that yarn is huge on camera. That's awesome. Put the yarn on the palm of your hand, wrap it around your forefinger and middle finger. And when you come back up, cross over. After you cross over, rotate your hand like this, go underneath the front loop, grab the back loop, and pull up. And you have a slip knot. Okay?
That's awesome.
Let's take your needles. I'm going to use the circular ones today. You can use the straights. We'll just get them both cast on.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I
Isn't
love
it
this.
great? So we are going to cast on a total of 30 stitches. And so you're going to need both needles for this. So what I've done is I've placed my slip knot directly onto my needle, and we're going to simulate a knit stitch. So I'm going to take my other needle, I will go into that slip knot, and making sure I don't use my tail, I wrap my yarn around my needle.
I am going to stab myself all up in my stuff.
You'll be fine. So you'll pull that stitch out of Okay, let me try that one more time. You're going to go into the slip knot, around your needle, come out the stitch.
Come out this. Hang on. Let me get it. Okay, I got it.
Oh my gosh.
I got it. Okay.
Come out the stitch.
Yep.
Extend.
Extend.
Okay. And we have to take our left needle and we're going to swivel it around and place that stitch directly onto the left-hand needle.
Holy mackerel.
You got
What'd
it.
you just do?
Scooch down.
I do this?
And put that on and you've got it. Good job. So that's one stitch. Wow. So now we have 2 stitches on there. So with our needle, sweating, working it up. We're going to have a sweat.
That's the most exercise I've got.
You take the needle, you go into that new stitch.
Hang on. A new stitch.
And we do the exact same thing. Yarn over your needle.
What's this stitch
Come
called?
out. It's called the knitted cast on because you're simulating a knit stitch and we're knitting a cast on.
Whoops, what did I just do?
Extend.
I just
You're
did
good.
that. Okay,
Extend. And then you're going to swivel and extend a little bit more. It really allows you to swivel around. Yep.
And go in.
Yep.
And pull it off.
Just like that.
What is that stitch called?
A knit stitch.
That's a knit stitch. Have I
A
ever
knitted
done that
cast
before?
on. You haven't done this cast on. Nope. Okay. So what's great about this one though, Mom, is that it's really easy to, cast on stitches. It's easy to not have to worry about having an extra long tail and running out as you go along. So I come through, extend, swivel, and place that stitch on my needle. You have to make sure you do the swivel part though, because if you don't, you watch what happens. So if I don't swivel and go like this, and I just place it on there, see how it loops funny?
Right.
So you want to make sure you always do the swivel because it twists the bottom. See how it's twisting the bottom there?
Yeah.
And you place it directly back onto the needle.
Your dad won't be sitting close to me with these. I can guarantee you that. He'll be like, holy mackerel.
All right.
You're licensed to carry those things.
All right, so once again, this is called the knitted cast on. You want to make sure that you get 30 stitches cast onto your needles this way, and then we're going to jump into the pattern, which is just knitting 4 rows. So let's get to the end of this cast on, and I will show you how to work into these stitches to actually knit.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at those different colors.
It's gorgeous.
I love this. This
Tiramisu.
This is it.
It's right up your alley, man.
Yeah, man. I'm pumped.
All right, let's get our 30.
Is this a race?
Oh, honey.
I know.
You don't want to race me.
I don't want to.
I'm in it to win
Whoops,
it.
I think I already did something wrong. See, you got me all upset.
No, you're good. You got to
sure?
twist. Yep, just twist and put it on.
Okay.
There you go.
I am not going to get 30 on here. I'm at 19. Look, all I have
Okay,
left
hold
is the
on.
little top of the rocket.
12, 12,
12.
12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Oh, I went a little over.
You are an overachiever, aren't you?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. All right, so I don't need these. Do you want me to finish yours?
Yeah, I want you to see.
No, that's fine.
You're going to be squishing them on there.
I know.
But, it's not that it can't be done. I'm sure y'all that are real used to this.
Well, I mean, there are people out there who've never used circulars before. Like, it scares them.
Oh, no.
So, all right. So here's total benefit of just
Look
using.
how pretty that looks, just like that.
I know, right?
Pretty.
Benefit of using the circular needles, or not the circular needles. The benefit of using the knitted cast on is I just did too many, and I was able just to pull it out and not have any problems. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have any issues. So I have 30. I'm ready. Look at that.
So you want a button or something? What? I was able to just pull it out and not have any problems at all. Well, I pulled mine out and not had any problems.
Who invited her? I didn't invite her.
Why
Was
do
it
you
you?
get to be here?
Jeez Louise. Here, let me try yours.
I could pull mine out.
Look, see? It's all on there like nice and neat. Oh, that's so pretty.
Okay, well, we're through being impressed with you, so just back up. Let's see you get 30 on here, big shot.
All right.
I don't think it's going to happen.
They're tight.
It's
It's all right. It's not. I got to count again.
Do you do a lot of knitting projects on big needles like that? I mean, are there a lot?
I haven't. I haven't done a lot. I know there's quite a few out there. Let me point out something. As you're knitting something like this and you have to scrunch your work down, you want to make sure that your work is not going to accidentally fall over that.
Yep.
So you have to be really careful of that.
Yep.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 32. So we'll take 2 off.
Look at you.
You got
You're
them.
such a show off.
So see, it's possible. Once you have your 30 stitches cast on, it's time to knit 4 rows. Let me show you how to knit. You pretty much know how to knit because you just did the knitted cast on, but this time we're going to let the stitches actually go off of our needle. So I'm going into the very last stitch we cast on, yarning over my needle, pulling that stitch through. Okay, I'm going to pull it all the way through, but now I'm going to have this stitch that I went into jump off my left hand needle. Now I have a new stitch on my right hand needle. So I go in, around, out, off, in, around, out, off. And I'm going to point out once again, I'm using circulars, Mom is using straights, and you can get 30 stitches on the straight needles. They're just going to be really squished on there, and you want to make sure that as you're knitting along, as you're squishing those stitches on the straight needles, that they are not falling off the back end of the needle. You want to be very careful about that, okay? You see here?
A mistake?
Nope, I think you're all right.
You sure?
Uh-huh. I'm in, around, out, and I'm going to go off. You can force the stitches up a little bit, get them back up on the needle, and then work into them. So Mom went to go and blow her nose. I'm going to continue showing you how to knit. You go into the stitch, yarn around your needle, out the stitch, and then off your needle. We will do this for 4 rows. After your 4th row is complete, join me back here. I'm going to show you how to add stitch markers to keep the garter stitch on the edges of your work, and then we'll work in stockinette stitch right in between the 2 stitch markers. That's it. That's all it takes to make this blanket. So finish your 4 knit rows, and then we will jump into the rest. The 4 knit rows are complete, and it's time to jump into the body stitch of the pattern. It's just stockinette bordered by garter stitch, which is really easy as long as you have stitch markers there to remind you that the outside 3 stitches are always in garter stitch. Let me show you where I would place the stitch markers and how to do the purl stitch. Looking down here, you can see I've finished my 4 rows of knitting, and it's time to jump into the body. I will go ahead and knit the first 3 stitches just like I've been doing all along. Knitting 3 stitches only, and then I will place a marker. Those of you who've been following along in all of my videos know I love stitch markers, but these are really big needles and we don't have stitch markers that can go around these. So what I've done is I've taken some other yarn. This is Mixology by Red Heart, and I've just created a little loop. And I can put that loop directly onto my needle, and I now have a stitch marker. This stitch marker is now going to remind me that these first 3 stitches are always going to be knit, and then I will add a stitch marker at the other end, and it'll remind me that those last 3 stitches will be knit. So if I keep my stitch marker on there, it's time for me to jump into my stitch pattern, which means I need to purl to the last 3 stitches. So I bring my yarn to the front of my needles, go into stitch as if to knit, yarn over my needle, come out of the stitch, and then off my needle. I go in, around, out, off, in, around, out, off. You'll notice that I'm keeping my yarn in the front of my stitches so that way I can create my purl stitches without any extra loops, and I'm going to continue this to the last 3 stitches. Not so bad, right, Mom?
It's looking beautiful.
This yarn is really lovely to work with. When I get to the last 3 stitches, all I will do is put the stitch marker on my right hand needle and then knit the very last 3 stitches. What's great is I'm looking at the wrong side. This is why we're purling, is because we're working in stockinette. And when you work in stockinette, the wrong side is your purl side and the right side is your knit side. So what's going to be really easy is that when you're on your wrong side, you'll knit those first 3, purl to the last 3, and then knit the last 3. But when we get to the right side, it'll just be straight knitting all the way across. You'll see what I mean. I'm almost to the last stitch right here. Let's purl that puppy. And there's 3 stitches left on my left hand needle. So I will take my second marker. Again, it's just a little loop. I've tied a knot and I'm placing it directly onto my needle. And I will I will knit these last 3 stitches. So I have to bring my yarn to the back, and knit the last 3 stitches. This goes relatively quickly. Getting a lot of
Yeah, it does.
a lot of surface area created here.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right, so I've just finished that row. I'll turn my work. And if you're working with circulars, all you do is you treat each needle just as you would if you were working with straight needles. They just happen to have this really long cord that the stitches are resting on. So I've turned my work and I will continue on in my pattern, which is a knit row. This entire row, I will knit the entire row. And you know how to knit, but let me go ahead and knit across these first 3 to show you how to work with this stitch marker. I will go into the stitch and knit. Remember, my yarn is behind my needles when I knit. So I want to make sure that it's back there, not accidentally giving me yarn overs. And then when I come to my stitch marker, I simply slip it across to my right hand needle. It's that easy. I don't have to worry anything else about it. It's just hanging out there. And it's a big, like a stop sign, essentially, is kind of what I think of it as, of, hey, something needs to change here. But that change only happens on the wrong side because we have purl stitches between the stitch markers. And right here, I just knit all the way across. You can see I'm starting to get the stockinette. See how pretty? So you have this nice garter stitch border here, garter stitch up the sides, and stockinette in the center. The reason you have to do garter stitch up the sides and on the bottom and the top is because stockinette naturally curls on itself.
Right.
So if you don't want the stockinette to naturally curl on itself, you have to give it some borders to keep it in place.
I see.
So
I love that. That's
right?
beautiful.
It's pretty, right?
Yeah, it really is.
You continue repeating rows 1 and 2 until the piece measures 47 inches from the wrong side, from the very beginning. Once you do that, you jump in and you'll finish it off with some garter stitch and then bind off your work. Now, those of you who have not worked with thick yarn like this before, you might be wondering how you would add a new ball of yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this ball and join in a new ball of yarn so that you can see how that is worked. I just finished this ball of yarn and conveniently it was at the very end of the row. So I'm at the end of the row right here and you can see the last little bit of yarn. So all I will do is grab my new ball of yarn here and I like to pull from the middle, so I'm just reaching in trying to grab some guts. There we go. And I like to tie on my work, usually my new yarn to my old yarn, just to hold it in place so that it doesn't go anywhere.
So you literally just treat it the same way you treated the smaller yarn.
Yes. So I like to tie it on so it doesn't go anywhere. And I will undo that later on to weave in my ends. And I will just start knitting. Now, it's really just as simple as picking up your work, leaving your tails hanging out there, and then start working. So we have our first 3 stitches here. We're on our wrong side row. And I know that because I'm looking at purl bumps. You see all those? So I will knit the first 3.
Sure you will.
I know. I can do this. Trust me, I'm a professional. So I knit the first 3, and when I get to my marker, that's my big signal of, hey, something needs to change here. Slip my marker over, and I will begin to purl. So I'll bring my yarn between my needles. Always bring it between your needles, otherwise you get extra stitches, and then start to purl. And I would purl all the way down to my next marker. Now, because you know how to purl, you know how to knit, and now you know how to add on a new ball of yarn, I'm going to show you how to weave in this yarn because it's really thick, and it's important to me that you know how to weave in your tails really nice. So I'm just going to leave this hanging out here, and we're going to come back over here and address these tails. Can you see them? Can you see that, Mom? So the first thing I'm going to do is I will undo my little knot I just created because I don't want to have a knot in my knitting. I don't like knots in my knitting. It's not good. Get that? It's not good. All right. So I can have those just kind of hanging out there. Now this is really loosely spun yarn. So what I will do is I will untwist it and I will weave in each tail here, not each tail, each spun roving, each strand, maybe that's the right word, strand, and I'll weave in each strand individually. Now what's really great is Susan Bates has these really great needles right here. They're called finishing needles, and so it has this really big eye. Look at that, how big that is. So I can just take this and weave it right into the eye with no problem. And it's nice and sharp. So all I would do here is I could come down here and go through the stitches and pull my yarn through. Now I could split the yarn so that it grabs on itself. Come over here a little bit, grab on it there.
So there's no rhyme or reason.
There are different ways to weave in. I don't find it necessary for this particular one. Like this one, I just want to make sure this is woven in on itself, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back through that same stitch I went up. So I'm going down it. And then I'm going to go back down this direction. And what I'm going to do is essentially take my needle through the actual yarn like this, but I'm going to do it over here on this side. Like I'm weaving through the same yarn. So it's this same tail, and I'm just going through it, sort of like a Russian join. Let's pull that through. And I feel like that makes it nice and secure. Because it's roving, I don't want it to come undone. I might do it a couple more times. It looks like it needs it a couple more times. But this is where you would do it by feel. Do it how you know, how many times you think it's necessary to do it. Because you don't want this to come undone.
Because you would never just like cut that now.
No. Not yet, no.
That's enough.
I'm not ready yet. Yeah, well, yeah, eventually I will.
But not like right now.
No, I don't think so. I'm going to keep going this way. I'm just kind of feeling it out. Because, you know, you're going to use it, so you don't want it to come undone. I'm making sure it's not like completely getting ugly on the other side. See, it's not showing up over there at all. It looks.
This is the
I feel
wrong
like
side.
yeah, this is the wrong side. See, I'm looking at the pearls. I feel like that's pretty good. So I would snip that as I drop my pen. And I'm just going to snip it right up there.
Wow, you snipped it really close.
Well, I have it woven in pretty good, and I have it through itself. So then all I would do is I'd come over here to the other part, because remember this is the same yarn, it's just the other strand, and I would do the same thing. But see here how it's starting to come apart? When you start to untwist it like this, that's when you start to get the frays. So it shouldn't come undone like it is right now when it's twisted up as it is presented. But this is the way I find weaving in my ends for this yarn particularly, because it's so thick. If you kept the strands together, I feel like it would just get extra bulky in the places that you're weaving it in.
A big knot.
It would. And so I like to split it up and just, you know, tuck it in. And I'm just going different places. It's really nice and pointy, so I can really stab through the yarn. And because this yarn has a little bit of wool in it, I'm hoping that the fibers of the wool will help grab onto the yarn also.
And those needles come in a pack, it looks like?
It does. It comes in a large pack with all different sizes.
That's nice.
So it's a good tool, and it's nice, and it's a large eye. So I feel like that one's pretty good. Don't you feel like that one's pretty good? I think. So I would snip this one, set that aside, and then I would just have this tail to weave in. Make sense? So those look pretty good to me. Look around the right side, I don't see them. I feel like they'll kind of work their way just right where they need to be.
What's that tail?
This
That's
is
the original tail?
That's the one that's on my needles. Yeah,
Right,
that was
the original.
Yep, that was the original.
Okay, so the only thing you just did there was the new ball.
The new one. Yeah, and that wasn't because it was just because it was the first one I grabbed. But I would still have to weave in this one before I was finished with the blanket.
And you would still take that one apart.
I would
and
still.
weave it.
Yep. Because I mean. Now you know how to make the wonderful big stitch throw, and I know that you're going to love making this. Once you have it finished, go ahead and take pictures and put them on Pinterest and let everybody know that you learned how to make this right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. If you are interested to find out how Mom's finished throw turns out, go ahead and like me over on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/MarleyBird. I will be sure to take pictures of Mom's finished throw because she is going to finish this. She loves this color way too much to not finish it. Plus it's fast, right?
Oh yeah, it worked up really
Yeah,
fast.
the yarn is really lovely to work with, and it's just going to be a really lovely throw in your white living room. It's going to be gorgeous.
I know, right?
It looks like little stones, like the color of stones.
I love
Just
it.
beautiful.
I love it.
If you want to share with me your finished project, I would love to see that as well. You could post about it right there on Facebook, on my page, or on Twitter, or on Instagram. Just link to me. I'll put all of my different links or tags in the video notes below. And if you're looking down there, go ahead and smash that like button, as my kids say. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you'll come back for more right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Hit subscribe so you're up to date whenever there's a new video released and you won't miss a thing. Thank you again. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. And this,
Marley's mom.
talk to you later. Bye. I love this yarn.
Yeah, I do too. I like those needles too. Don't make me talk while I cook. There's no telling. You know that. There's no telling what I'll come up with if I talk while I cook.
I just know I'm not going to nudge you.
Yeah.
So there's
it would be deadly today.
we have our own needles today.
Yes, we do.
It's gonna have to be like the outtake.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
You got it.
Here's cardio.
Seriously, I am working up
You
a
could
sweat.
be taking that off. Little jingle.
It's awesome.
Little jingle in your yarn. Whoops. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
You're good.
I keep jabbing you.
You got this. That's why I like this.